you are uncomfortable, I can't think of anything to say that happens when small talk is what's supposed to be happening. Well, guess what? It doesn't have to stay that way. There are ways to improve and gain a small talk talent. In much the same way that you learn how to play the piano or even how to drive a car, you can improve your small talk skills. And you do that by learning about it and practicing it. I have found myself feeling alone in a room of chatting women. I don't necessarily consider myself shy, although I do think that we all have occasions or situations where we feel more reserved than others. On this occasion, I was in a room with people that I at least casually knew, almost all of them. I should have been chatting like everybody else, but I was feeling, well, alone in a crowded room. And why was I feeling so alone? Because I couldn't figure out how to start a conversation. It's silly, I know, but I was afraid of what they might think of me, or worse, that I would try to start a conversation and somebody would blow me off. Not in a rude way, but in a as soon as I enter the conversation, everybody leaves way, because yeah, that has happened. Tell me in the comments if you can relate to that feeling. Plus, what if we start talking and there's one of those weird lulls in the conversation where nobody's saying anything? What are you supposed to say then? I'll tell you in a little bit what I do during those situations, but first, let's talk about how to start that conversation. Hi, I'm Amy on A Lolly Life, and today we are talking about what makes good kindling for small talk or conversation. In other words, how do you start a conversation? Small talk is the kindling we use in conversation to get to know each other and how we ease into that conversation. I'm going to give you 10 small talk triggers or like kindling. The truth is, you don't need all 10 of them. You really only just need a handful. And so you can pick and choose which ones of those that you like. These are going to be your go-to topics when you need to start or maintain a conversation. I'm guessing that you've heard these kinds of questions before. While you don't have to start a conversation with a question, it is a really good way to encourage the other person to chat. The most common asked is, "How are you doing?" It's so common that people don't actually answer it. They respond as if you've said hi. You're like, "How are you doing?" They're like, "Hey, yeah." They don't answer the question. So I would encourage you to be more creative. Here are some examples of things that might spark some creative questions in your mind. Number 1, the weather. Can you believe it snowed yesterday? It's the middle of May. It is so hot. I feel like I'm melting the minute I walk outside. Do you know if they're forecasting a break in this heat wave anytime soon? Have you ever lived somewhere with more humidity? Really? Which season do you like best? Number 2, traffic or parking. How long was your commute today? Did they finish the construction on 75? How much time did the construction add to your commute? Did you have trouble finding a parking spot? Number 3, sports. Have you filled out a bracket for March Madness yet? Did you hear who won the Tour de France? Have you been able to watch any of the Olympics? Number 4, holidays. What'd you do over the Easter weekend? Are you going to the office holiday party? Did you watch the fireworks last night? They were amazing. Number 5, work or school. How's your job going? Are you still working at the university? What's your major in school? Maybe number 6, books. Have you read any good books lately? Are you part of a book club? Number 7, video games. That's right, video games can be a conversation trigger. Have you seen the latest collab in Fortnite? It's gonna make your eyebrows jump. Do you know when the new season of Fortnite starts? Did you watch any of the games done quick over the weekend? Number 8, family. Tell me about how Lily's doing. How's your family? What have your kids been up to? Do you have any family vacations planned this summer? Number 9, how somebody's met a common friend. How'd you meet Tressa or some other common friend? And number 10, how they spend their free time or what their hobbies are. Do you like D&D? Or depending on the situation, you could ask about quilting or rock climbing or whatever your interest is. What do you like to do in your free time? Tell me in the comments your go-to small talk questions. I named 10, but the truth is there are countless options. So what you need to do is you go through this list and you pick the things that are easiest for you to talk about or that you personally have the most interest in. And again, if you have something that's not on that list, absolutely, you can include it. these 10 that I listed are just some of the more common ones. For myself personally, it's probably easier for me to ask about somebody's family than it is for me to talk about sports. Maybe gaming is a better topic for you than work or school. Each situation is different, but you need to have a handful, just one handful, you really don't need 2 handfuls, but a handful of topics that you can use to start a conversation. When coming up with your small talk questions or topic ideas, it's a good thing to keep in mind what small talk is not. Small talk is not and should never be gossip, idle conversation, or a blatherfest. I'm not actually sure what a blatherfest is, I just like the way it sounded. Blatherfest. Blatherfest. If that's what's happening, then that small talk is officially the zombie equivalent of a human. Because that's not small talk. You shouldn't just be jabbering or making trivial conversation. There's no point. Also, politics and other controversial subjects are not good small talk material. Don't gossip or insult others who are there as a way to start a conversation. It's bad manners and will not lead you to where you want to go. Trust me. Small talk has a purpose. It is like the starting point for a conversation. The conversations that actually mean something and get you places. Small talk is like the first baby steps in developing a good relationship that can lead to a more rewarding life. So keep that in mind as you think up some small talk questions. So here's what you do when you have one of those lulls in the conversation where nobody's talking and it just gets really weird and really awkward very quickly. It only takes 4. I don't know why I put 3 fingers on. It only takes 4 seconds for it just for the silence to start feeling very awkward. Here's what I do. I either do one of a couple of things. I'll just say, well, there's one of those weird lulls in the conversation. A lot of times if you point out the elephant in the room, well, it goes away. It's not a problem anymore. So pointing out that it was a weird lull in the conversation, that can work and start the conversation back up. Yep, pointing out those awkward silences makes it seem normal. A second thing that you can do, and this is probably even a better idea than the first one works for me, but it may not work for everybody's personalities. Anyway, the second one is grab another one of those starter questions and start a new conversation on a new subject. However, awkward silences and lulls in the conversation don't matter if you're too nervous to even get out of the house and go try. Social stories help you conquer your fears of new situations. Click on the playlist in the corner if you have trouble conquering your fears of new situations, and I'll see you next time on A Lolly Life.